All right. Good day, traders. Hope you guys are good. And welcome to the 60th edition of our weekly market breakdowns. Without wasting any time, let's get straight into it. We're going to start by looking at GBPAUD, right? Now, as you can see, the market is in a long-term downtrend, right? From here to here, right? This is our all-time high. This is our swing high, swing high, swing high. Now we have our low here. This low right here is a weak low. Why is it a weak low? Because it hasn't broken through a previous structure, which is this high over here. And also this high over here is a weak high because of the same reason. It hasn't broken through any opposing structure. Now, the market is in between this range over here. And if we look at this range over here, we can see that right now we are in the buyer's territory, right? We just went past the equilibrium point and now we're in the buyer's territory. There is a chance though that the market will go lower. And the lower it goes, the more cheaper it will become. The cheaper it gets, the more likely you're going to get a favorable price. And if you get to a strong zone, price can now start to push up. Or price will break this low and continue going lower. Hope that makes sense. Hope that makes sense. But that's going to happen over a couple of months. Now, because we're in a buyer's territory, right? We have to consider also the zones, right? Our valid zones. And we also have to look for our fair value gaps. Now, we have a zone over here that hasn't been, sorry, we have a zone here that hasn't been tested. This is a fresh demand zone. And then we have the supply over here. The market has incentive to retest this demand zone over here because it is fresh, right? It has incentive again to retest this demand zone over here because there are fair value gaps right here and the market still has to take them out. We have liquidity over here. The market has taken some of the liquidity here, right? So in terms of direction, number one, and incentive, number two, right? Price is most likely going to drop. Now we're looking for areas where the potential drop will start. Now you zoom in, you'll see that we have a zone over here. We had a fair value gap right here. The market filled it, had a failure swing here, and the market started dropping. We have a break of structure over here. And then we have a fair value gap right here. So the first thing that could happen is you could get a fill, an order fill here, and the market could also hit the zone over here, which is the source of that imbalance. And after hitting that source of imbalance, this is where we could start selling. But one thing we know about this is that the market does not have to go all the way up. But if you want high probability sells, this is the first area where you're going to look for sells. The market can also take out this liquidity and go towards the upside. But for now, we are looking for sells on the zone right here. Right, hope that makes sense. When we go to the weekly, it's much more clear. We have liquidity over here in a form of equal highs. What I think will happen is that the market might take out first of all, some of the orders here, because there's still some fair value gaps over here that have to be filled. So the market has incentive to push higher. This is the previous weekly high, which is our area of liquidity. The market has incentive to take out the high, right, as an area of liquidity. And then we have a nested fresh zone over here. This means it's a higher probability zone, right? So the first scenario is the market takes out the previous weekly high, goes up, reaches to this point, and this is where you're going to see the reversal. Another scenario, which to me is very unlikely, is that price breaks below this point over here, the weekly low, and then you get what do you call this? You get a correction on the lower time frames. Get a correction on the lower time frames, and then price starts dropping. And then let's look for scenario 2. Now, scenario 2 were to prevail. What do I want to see? I want to see price breaking below this point over here. We have a daily zone here. So I want to see the market violating the zone over here, strong push, and then a correction. As you can see, we also have a fair value gap right here. And so if we get a sell for next week, I'm taking profits right here. This is where I'm taking profit. But like I said, I'm more inclined to believing in the second scenario because price was going down, fine. Now we had a strong push, breaking structure right here. The market formed this impulse movement correction. Impulse movement, this could be interpreted as a correction. So the market can also take out the previous weekly low. After taking out that previous weekly low, we could get a midweek reversal around about at this zone, and then price can start pushing higher. You get what I mean? So for me, I still think that price has incentive to push towards the upside. But yeah, these are my thoughts on GBPAUD. For now, let's move on to another pair. All right, now we are on AUDUSD. I don't know when's the last time we looked at this pair, but I think the last time we looked at this pair, we were expecting it to go up. Clearly, when you're looking at this chart right here, price is still continuing towards the downside, right? We have this also supply over here. So price is clearly dropping towards the downside and hasn't shown any signs of a reversal, right? This will be our ultimate take profit. So this is where I expect price to at least hit before changing direction. Now, if you look at this piece right here, we have this fair value gap, right, of orders that haven't been filled, right? And then we have this as the source of that fair value gap. Now, why is this zone valid? Because one other prerequisite for a zone to be valid is that it has to break through an opposing zone. This is the zone that broke. I was expecting price to react from this zone, but clearly we broke through it. So now we're expecting a consolidation, or I'm expecting a consolidation away from the zone, and for the market to print a correction on the lower time frames that will target this supply and then a drop, right? On the lower time frame, when we jump onto the weekly, all right, this looks a bit messy, but we can fix it. You'll see that price is on a long-term downtrend. We recently had a break of structure over here, and we have a zone nested on the monthly zone. And then we also have a fair value gap over here. And remember what I said about fair value gaps, they create incentive. So now when you look at the weekly, you also see that price is acting from the zone over here. So on the weekly, demand is in control. Although this demand is not a strong demand, why? It's a counter trend zone. But nonetheless, price is acting from the zone. So like I said, I'm expecting price to act from the zone, push higher, tap into this weekly zone over here, and then drop, eventually breaking through the zone. And if a zone is in control on a higher time frame, what do I expect to see on a lower time frame? A change of sentiment. On the lower time frame, you can see we have a failure swing right here, and the market is breaking structures. We also have eco highs over here, which creates incentive for price to push higher and take out this liquidity. Now, this is not a signal. I'm not telling you to buy. What I'm saying though is there is potential for buy opportunities in the coming weeks, right? We have this nested demand zone right here and a fair value gap just before it. So this is where I'm expecting sales. This is scenario 1, right? Scenario 2 is that price breaks below the zone, below this low zone, and I sell the retest or the pullback. But yeah, this is what I see on AUDUSD. Regardless of the scenarios, my take profit is still on the zone right here. Let's jump on to another pair. All right, final pair for the week is USDCAD. We've looked at this pair for months, and we can all agree that in the long run, this pair is going up. Now we've had success with catching the buys, taking some profits, right? And now the market has reached or has retested the zone over here. So the zone over here is a barrier that price has to break through in order for the buy to be confirmed. So this is barrier number 1. Barrier number 2 is this high over here. We can also say that we have liquidity here, but it can act as temporary resistance. So price has to break through these highs in order for the continuation to be confirmed. Remember that this is our week high, week low. Both of these haven't been confirmed because the high hasn't broken through an opposing low, the low hasn't broken through an opposing high. What gives this low a higher leverage over this high is the fact that it's in line with the main trend. So this is why we can be in a position to believe that eventually the market will break through the zone. We have fair value gaps right here to fill. The market has incentive to go higher. But because in the previous month we had such a strong bullish month, price also has incentive to create a short-term pullback to take out some of the orders before continuing up. And this is what I think is happening on the lower time frames. So let's go to the weekly. So on the weekly, we have this zone over here. Now, it's a low probability zone. Why? Because of the number of candlesticks that are found here. So that's why I think price will eventually break through this. Now here, we have this fair value gap right here. And I don't think the market will go all the way to the downside to fill in this fair value gap. That's not what I think. But I think the market has incentive to at least try to take out some of the orders before moving up. Right? We have this potential zone over here. And why is it a good potential zone? Because it has broken through previous structures. Price is trying to consolidate away from it. It makes sense why in the long run, price might attempt to hit the zone before moving up. Now, if we go to the daily, price has to break through the zone over here in order for us to be in a position where we can say we've had a lower time frame change of sentiment, right? So if the market breaks through the zone, it means that we're going to have to wait for a pullback and take a riskier sell and take profit on the zone over here. This is the first zone where I'm expecting buys. And then we have a fair value gap right here and a nested zone here. Take profit will be at the other monthly supply. But I hope this makes sense. Now, what happens if the market does not break below this zone? I'm going to wait for a breakout above this high and a breakout past this high over here, because the market has to completely break through that monthly supply, right? But yeah, overall, I am bullish. In the long run, I am bullish on USDCAD. And so that's what I have for you guys for this week. See you guys in the next video. For now, peace.